Today on Cryptic Mass Guitar, we do a comparison between my Gibson USA Les Paul Standard 50s and my Gibson Custom 1959 Les Paul Standard VOS. Now in this comparison video here, we're going to be doing 5 different sound samples, the last of which, because it is this channel, is going to be a full-on metal sound sample. There's 2 things I really quickly want to touch on here. So this guitar Canadian is $4,000. This guitar here Canadian is $9,000. Throw taxes on top of that. Both of these are considered expensive guitars. Some people out there tend to get a little upset when you talk about expensive guitars. I'm not sure why. So if that is you, then just don't watch the video. The last thing here is YouTube videos are fantastic. It allows you to get like a different perspective on maybe 2 different guitars that you're looking at purchasing. You can kind of hear things, albeit with someone else's hands, someone else's amp choices, setting choices, and tuning choices. So don't use a video like this as the sole purpose as to why you're buying a guitar. Don't let a goofball like me tell you which guitar to buy. Try them out for yourself. Just find a store that has a guitar that you're looking for. Try that guitar. Try a whole bunch of other guitars and just see which one really works for you best. All right, so there you go. There are all 5 different sound samples for the comparison between the Gibson USA Les Paul Standard 50s and the Gibson Custom 1959 Les Paul Standard VOS. Now, spec-wise, it's a bit of a pain. I have different videos that actually go into like the 58 against the 50 to kind of give you more detailed breakdown of the differences, but pretty much we'll try and do this quick. Both of these have mahogany backs. The Gibson USA has a 2-piece mahogany back. The Gibson Custom has a 1-piece mahogany back. Both of these here also have a single-piece mahogany neck. The Gibson Custom, because it's a 1959, has a medium C-neck, which is slightly slimmer than the 50s, almost baseball style neck. Both have 2-piece maple carved tops. Both of them are flamed maple. The standard 50s, when I got it, was a limited edition because they didn't really have AAA flames, but I think now they've kind of gotten more into the figuring. This is ridiculous. Both guitars have the inlaid Gibson logo with the silk-screened Les Paul model logo, albeit the 59 is a little bit of a darker font and it's higher up on the headstock than the Gibson USA. Tuning-wise, both of these have the Vintage Deluxe tuners. However, the Gibson USA is Gibson Vintage Deluxe Clouson style, whereas the Custom Shop is the actual vintage sizing Clouson Vintage Deluxe tuners. That means that the holes here for the tuners are smaller than the holes here for the tuners on the Gibson USA. So if you wanted to swap these out for like Grovers, or for some reason on a reissue put in like, you know, modern size locking tuners, you'd have to remount the holes to make them bigger so the tuners would fit. Both guitars have a tune-o-matic and a stop bar. Both of them are ABR1. However, the Custom Shop here has the ABR1 drilled directly into the body, and the saddles on the ABR1 are nickel-plated brass. Both guitars have the Audio Taper CTS potentiometers. Both of them are also Gibson branded CTS. They're also hand soldered. The Gibson USA has orange drop capacitors, whereas the Gibson Custom has the Bumblebee capacitors in them, the paper and oil. Binding on the Gibson USA is a little thicker. The fret nibs here are also a lot thicker, whereas it's thinner on the Gibson Custom. That means the fret nibs are a little thinner as well. Other things to look at here would be the finish. It's a lot thicker on the USA and a little thinner on the Custom. That acoustically changes the way that the guitar feels when it's vibrating up against your body. Also, this uses hot hide glue, whereas the Gibson USA uses tight bond glue. Those glues fuse a little different. It's tinfoil hat territory, I guess you could say, but I've always heard that hot hide glue kind of fuses better and kind of makes the wood a little more connected, I guess you would say. But enough talking about specs, because really that gets a little on the boring side, and you can just look them up yourself, even though no one really does. What I do want to go over here is how I feel about both of these guitars. Not my feelings themselves, but really how they feel to me when playing them. We'll start out with the Gibson USA here. Before I bought the VOS guitars that I own, this was my favorite guitar. The Les Paul Traditional that I have and the Les Paul Custom that I have, those 3 guitars were my absolute favorite guitars that I owned, and the classic P90. The baseball style neck, the Fat 50s neck, or Chunky C, although this isn't technically completely Chunky C, it just fits on my hand, around my hand, really, really well, or my hand fits around it. And it's just very, very comfortable. It feels like home to me when playing. The fact that this is non-weight relieved as well and a lot heavier than the lightweight mahogany that's on the Gibson Custom, it just has always felt a lot more solid when playing. There's not like this huge amount of resonance like weight relieved guitars or satin nitro ones where there's just a lot of resonance and no like upper mid range, no presence. This is very well balanced, just doesn't have a ton of resonance to it, which means when you're playing leads, it just feels solid. It's a mahogany neck, there's no maple, so it doesn't have that weird snap, which can be enjoyable to a lot of people. I just prefer mahogany, but it's always been something that I've enjoyed playing leads on this guitar. For playing rhythm and stuff like that, I find that this guitar here, especially with the pickups, so the pickups that are in here, I forgot on the specs, are the Burstbuckers 2 and 1. The 2 is in the bridge, the 1 is in the neck. The Burstbucker 2 used to be my absolute favorite pickup. It's very well reserved, has a nice balance to it, but when you actually listen, like if you're listening closely, I guess you would say, from one guitar to the other, it does have a little more high end to it, whereas the custom buckers have this sweet top end. This has a lot more top end to it. It's kind of got a little bit of focus to it in comparison to the custom buckers. But because they're well-reserved pickups, they're not hot by any stretch of the imagination. I've always found you can control the sound a lot better. You're not going in and adjusting your amp to, you know, bring down the gain, bring down the volume a little more to get a lot more control out of the sound. These pickups here used to be my absolute favorite. Going on to the 1959, the custom shop here, this currently is my third favorite guitar, behind the 1958 and the 1957. The 1956 that I own would be, I guess you would say, fourth place, and then probably the 1960. But this is a very comfortable guitar to play. It's also, again, like I said, lightweight mahogany, a single piece. There's no weight relief in it, so it does feel a lot more solid. The finish that's on here is the VOS, Vintage Original Sheen, so it's not as thick of a coating as the high gloss Gibson USA. That allows you to still have that nice top end feel, like acoustically. When you're playing, it feels very solid. You get a lot of that top end there, the presence, but you're not sacrificing a lot of the resonance. So sort of similar to a satin nitro or a weight relieved, where you feel a lot of the low end in your body, but you don't feel that top end. That's a lot of that is missing. This actually has almost all of that resonance, but it still retains all of that top end, the presence in the feeling in your body when you're playing. We as guitar players are legitimately crazy for the way that we think of things. So with that, the fact that we have the nickel-plated brass saddles, the fact that the ABR1 is drilled directly into the body, the fact that this uses hot hide glue, the fact that it's, again, a single piece of mahogany, this thing just rings out as one solid piece. So it's a lot more pleasing to me when playing leads and strumming, chording, basically just all around playing. I feel a lot more vibration when I'm playing. I feel a lot more in my body. I feel a lot more in my hands. It's a little bit acoustically louder than the Gibson USA as well. So this keeps me coming back for more. The reason that this is the third favorite guitar that I own is the fact that it has a medium C neck. And to me, the chunky C neck style that's on the 57 and the 58, or the complete baseball bat that I have on my 56, that just, my hand fits around it a lot more comfortably, and it's just a lot more pleasing for me to play. When I'm playing a medium C neck guitar, it's very comfortable, but I do notice the fact that it is a little bit slimmer. And the 60s that I do have, the 60s, 61, both have the slim taper, and that is extremely noticeable when you're going from like a 57, 58 to the 60. Once again, the pickups that are in here are the Alnico 3 unpotted custom buckers. The Gibson USA are also unpotted, by the way. But these are also very well reserved pickups. They have not completely a flat response, but they are very well balanced, and they have that sweet top end to it. So it's not that, when I say there's a sweet top end, it means I don't have to go to the amp and dial down the treble. It means that it still kind of rings through, and I don't have to adjust the amp for that. So when you listen to the comparisons, you can hear a lot more top end in the burst buckers than you do in the custom buckers. So to me, that allows me to get a lot more control over my overall sound. And with that being said, both of these are a fantastic choice. I've not played the Epiphone yet. I do want to rent the Epiphone Les Paul Standard 50s just so I can give some semblance of an opinion, because I get asked about it quite often. But both of these here are a fantastic choice. If you can afford them, then that's perfect. If you can't afford them, still play them, and maybe it's something you want to get down the line. But as always, just play every guitar in the dang store, and decide for yourself which one that works for you right now, and maybe which one will work for you down the road. Thanks for watching.